So I've heard from a good friend of mine who's also an ACM AI. Their name is Arjun, about a certain presentation you gave back when you were an intern at Google about being Black in software engineering.
Mhm.
Can you tell me more about your presentation and about what you said?
Oh, wow. Okay. So that was an interesting time. Um, okay, so here we go. All right, it's another long story, but it's a good one. Um, so as a professor of computer science, I don't know if you know the statistics, but in tech companies, especially, the number of anybody other than white male, this percentages are extremely low. For Black students, I don't care what gender, um, the hiring rate is in the low double digits. So I'm talking like 10% or less. At your Googles, your Facebooks, your Twitters. And as computer science faculty from a number of HBCUs across the country, by the way, there are about 103 HBCUs. About 85 of them have computer science departments. So it was incumbent upon us to figure out our students. They use these products. They want to work for these companies, but they were not getting interviews. And if they were getting interviews, they weren't being hired. Um, and so we were trying to figure out how can we improve these outcomes. So we said, okay, well, let's crack open this interview. What's happening in your interview process? What do you expect students to know? What's happening during the hour 2 hour interview? And so that actually led to an opportunity. What and Google calls it faculty and residence. So I was a part of the team that kind of helped create this idea, and also the first inaugural group of faculty members who went to uh, the mothership of Google headquarters in California, Mountain View. And so we spent 6 weeks at Google. It was a very interesting process. So Google, if you don't know, their IDs are color coded in such a way where you know who works where, you know who works in the kitchen, you know who works in legal, you know who works as a software engineer. And interestingly enough, there are not a lot of people on Google's campus that have brown skin. And certainly not a lot of people who are walking around with software engineering badges. Um, so at first, we went there, and it takes a while to get your badges made. And so there was this group of brown skinned people walking around in groups. How dare they? Who are they? Where are they from? So we didn't have our badges yet. So they said, we had to actually get a rush order to get our badges so we can be identified as software engineers. That made it worse. Like, who are these software engineers walking around campus, and how dare they? Right? I mean, I say that because several of my colleagues were stopped and said, where are you going? Why are you, you have free reign of the campus. If you want to go to a cafeteria for lunch that's serving Chinese food, you got to go that way. Like you had to run of the campus, and they welcomed us as a regular employee. Well, unfortunately, several of Google employees didn't appreciate that. And they would stop some people like, do you belong here? Next time, go around. And it was some really interesting treatment. Um, and we actually got visited by some very high ranking employees at Google, vice presidents, about what we were experiencing. Because I think one, they were embarrassed. Two, they didn't realize it was that bad, right? Like they just didn't realize that somebody with brown skin would get treated like that. So for me, that let me know that not only do we have to prepare our students to be computer scientists, we need to prepare them for the people who don't want them to be computer scientists, who they will most likely be sitting next to at the lunch counter, or their cubicle is right next to. So it broadened our perspective as faculty members there, to say, not only do we have to teach them algorithms, we got to teach them how to fight, right? Not physically, but just how to persevere